And when you put all of this together, it does begin to seem like we're actively trying to start pandemics. Which brings us to the obvious question, how do we stop doing that? Well, the most effective way would be to close down all wildlife markets, ban factory farming, stop eating meat altogether, halt deforestation, shut down all state fairs, and definitely take away Paris Hilton's kinkajou. But obviously, none of those are going to happen. For one thing, we know that kinkajou bites. But also, draconian measures are just not going to work here. For instance, if you abolish wildlife markets, that could cause food scarcity and would likely just lead to an explosion in black market trade of wild animals. The reason we know that is that's reportedly exactly what happened when China attempted just such a ban in 2003 in response to SARS.
Though Last Week Tonight's next pandemic episode is a great take on how coronavirus may not be a one-night stand, but actually a long-term relationship we just can't get out of, I take issue with two of Oliver's key points here. He says draconian measures won't be helpful in combating the spread of zoonotic viruses to human beings, and may actually make food scarcity worse among vulnerable populations. He also argues people flouting bans may lead to bat speakeasies, and he's right. However, this is a narrow example that mostly proves the exception to the rule. Paradoxically, right now, creating food from meat is one of the primary drivers of food scarcity. Currently, we're telling poor people all over the world, hey, you know that land you wanted to grow food on? We're actually going to need that for the cow over there. And the poor person is like, oh, I guess cows got to eat too, right? So they can raise their little cow families. And we're like, nah. We're just going to give them your food so we can eat them and your food inside of them, like a sadness piñata. A Smithsonian magazine article entitled, "Is the Livestock Industry Destroying the Planet?" cites the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations saying 26% of the Earth's terrestrial surface is used for livestock grazing. 1/3 of the planet's arable land is occupied by livestock feed crop cultivation. To be fair, though, apparently that same organization countered itself in another study, arguing back that 86% of livestock feed actually can't be used for human consumption. Basically, their point is, we can't feed poor people grass, even if Jeff Bezos needs his lawn mowed. However, this study seems to ignore that we wouldn't simply redirect livestock feed to starving people. Depending on the country's climate, we can grow different crops, right? A Harvard study focuses on the UK, but shows how cropland for animals can be repurposed for a variety of crops beyond those only suitable for livestock consumption. Oliver's second point about non-compliance is well taken. We know telling people to eat less meat just isn't effective. Research has consistently shown that people choose food based on three main factors: taste, price, and convenience. So when it comes to lunch, health, environment, and animal welfare are like those three kids at school with the rolly backpacks. No one wants that sadness parade at their table. While taste, price, and convenience are Michael B. Jordan. That snack can sit anywhere it wants, including on America's face. In his TED Talk, Meat Without Animals, Bruce Frederick, co-founder and executive director of the Good Food Institute, lays out a direction by which we can decrease meat consumption without bans. First, he gives background on the inefficiencies of raising meat.
You see, these guys are horrible at turning the crops that are fed to them into meat. It takes 9 calories fed to a chicken to get 1 calorie back out in the form of that animal's flesh. And chicken is the most efficient animal at turning crops into meat. What this means is you have to grow 9 times as much land, you need 9 times as much water, 9 times as many pesticides and herbicides. Globally, the vast majority of the crops that we grow fed not to human beings, but to farm animals. This drives up the price of grains and legumes, and it leads to a fact wherein 800 million people are malnourished globally right now. I want to illustrate this for a second. I've got 9 hummus and vegetable sandwiches back here. They're really tasty. Who would like to eat a hummus and vegetable sandwich while I finish this talk? All right, right here. There you go. And I only have 9 sandwiches, and I need to throw the other 8 away. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. Who thinks that was a good idea? 1 sandwich gets eaten, 8 get thrown away. No, of course not. That's a horrible idea. And yet that's essentially what meat production entails. And it's not just that. You've grown all of the grains, but now you've got to ship them to a feed mill. You have to operate the feed mill. You have to ship the feed to the farm. You have to operate the farm. You have to ship the animals to the slaughterhouse. You have to operate the slaughterhouse. It's multiple extra gas-guzzling, pollution-spewing vehicles, and it's multiple extra energy-intensive and polluting factories.
And if Oliver is worried about the next viral pandemic, he might want to be equally concerned about the spread of superbacteria caused by animal agriculture.
If you get sick or you get an infection, a doctor might put you on a course of antibiotics for maybe like 5 to 10 days. Farm animals are fed antibiotics for their entire lives. This means that about 70% of all antibiotics produced globally, not given to sick humans, but given to well animals, to farm animals, in order to make them grow more quickly and also to allow them to live through the conditions of industrial animal agriculture. What this means is that bacteria are figuring out how to get around the antibiotics. They're becoming superbugs, and when you get sick, the antibiotics don't work. The former president of the World Health Organization, Dr. Margaret Chan, she explained that the world is heading toward a post-antibiotic era in which common infections will once again kill. This will be the end of modern medicine as we know it.
Bruce then concludes his argument with a sort of elevator pitch to governments all around the world. Meat is so inefficiently produced that the country first to invest big in cracking the code of price and taste of plant-based and clean meat will have the next Google within their border, the next meat Tesla. But also, because I can't say any of this as well as Bruce, I'll leave it to him for this final argument.
800 million people globally are malnourished. And that's because they can't afford high-quality protein. Plant-based and cultivated meat, a far more efficient way of providing that high-quality protein, which is why the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Institute for the Future have tagged plant-based and cultivated meat as 2 food technologies that could be essential to wiping out malnutrition globally. Then the third thing that I want to mention is the economics of it. Open source R&D has a multiplier effect across every industry. For plant-based and cultivated meat, you're talking about lifting up these entire sectors. It's going to be great for the farmers that are supplying the crops for plant-based meat. It's going to be great for manufacturing, for R&D, for science, for universities. Plant-based and cultivated meat will be a boon to the economies of the governments that invest in it. It was government investment in manufacturing and then roads that led to the ubiquity of the automobile. It was government investment in cellular technology that led to the phone in all of our pockets. Similar stories can be told about air travel, computers, the internet, and search. We now have the opportunity to innovate in something even more fundamental. We can divorce meat from the inefficiencies and the other harms of the use of live animals. Just like your phone doesn't require a cord and a camera doesn't require analog film, so too, meat does not require live animals. Innovating in this area will address massive global challenges. 800 million people malnourished globally. The end of modern medicine through antibiotic resistance. The existential threat of climate change. The governments that innovate in this area will have bragging rights until the end of time. They will also be on the front lines of the meat industry, which is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry by 2050. They will be doing very good things for their economies. So for the good of the world and to the great economic benefit of the governments that seize this innovation opportunity, the time for governments to invest in remaking meat, that time is now.